Hey, everybody. Welcome to technically our 49th Adventures in Business episode, but our very first mini episode. So, Amani, are you ready to do a mini?
I'm ready to do a mini. I'm excited. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I think we should take a step back and share with our audience why in the world are we doing a mini and should we call it something different? Should we call this something different than a mini? I don't know. What do you think?
Let's think on that. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see.
I like to rename, I like to rename things. I like to rhyme and rename. So we'll think about it. But we wanted to record these mini episodes because Amani and I, we hop on these episodes once a week. We have these awesome guests. Like last week, we had Lori Richardson with Score More Sales, and we just hang up. We never get to talk about it. We never get to be like,
Bye.
"Oh," right? We're like, "Bye." Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, we wanted to start these mini episodes so we could actually reflect on the previous episode, or we can just talk with each other about what's going on in our individual worlds and then share that with all of you. And we're always open to suggestions for subjects for mini episodes. I think this one, Mamani, if it's cool with you, since we just had Lori Richardson on last week, or not last week, but our 47th episode was Lori
Mhm.
Richardson. If you're cool, if we just continue the conversation about sales and sales training, because we talked a lot about that with her on the episode. But I didn't get to pick your brain about,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts as an entrepreneur? How do you use sales? Like, what's your system for sales? How do you do this?
Yes. So I agree. Let's talk about sales. I think sales is an area of opportunity for me, particularly with the whole prospecting consistently. Some of the most successful, entrepreneurs, they do upwards of 40 sales activities a week. Somebody I know think does 15 or 20 a day.
Mhm.
And I think that along the way, we get so caught in our business that we forget to do sales. And sales is how we can have the business because it'll bring us work. So I'm down for it. I look up to you in terms of your sales skills and your strategies. My systems are they're not very good. They're not very good. So,
Everybody, Amani just gave us a Zerbert. He gave
yeah,
us a
they're not good at all. And I just from you, first of all, you should read Mandy's book because she has a lot of good information and strategies in there. So that's the
Aw,
first recommendation.
thank
But
you,
my
Amani.
if I'm of course, if I am gonna be starting, say, refining my sales funnel activities next year, should I use a spreadsheet? Should I get a CRM? What's the first step?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're not alone. Most entrepreneurs, they don't, think about it. When you work for a company, you have a structure, you've got a boss, you've got a boss's boss, you're running reports, you've got a system, a robust system. And then you go become an entrepreneur and you're mired in literally running the business. So I understand it. I do the same thing. I have some systems in place, but it's really easy to get off track with that. And I think some of the best things you can do as an entrepreneur is set yourself up, plan your week out. And that's just not for sales. That's just how you're going to run your business. So on Sunday or Monday, take a look at the week and determine, what 90-minute window am I going to engage on LinkedIn? Not post on LinkedIn, but I'm going to go on LinkedIn and I'm going to post comments and like things and share things, right? Put that in your calendar. Put in your calendar what 90-minute window are you going to make prospecting calls or prospecting emails, and then what 60-minute or even 30-minute window are you going to create some sort of newsletter and communicate with people. I think just starting with putting things in a calendar, just a calendar appointment. Some people use CRMs, and for people that are listening that might not know what a CRM is, that's totally okay. That's it's called something different with everybody, but it's customer relationship management, or a lot of times people use Salesforce. Salesforce
Right.
has great many things. Sugar, I know it's a good one. Act was
Oh,
from the old days. I used to use
that's old
Act all the
school. Me
time.
too.
But
Me too. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I think whatever you decide, whether it is a CRM or whether it's just tracing yourself in a calendar appointment, I think it's important to have a plan going into the week. And then from running a business standpoint, if you're going to plan out your sales, you got to plan out your operations. So I like to do a buffer day on Fridays where I don't take any phone calls on Fridays. And I use that either as a time to read, catch up, figure out invoicing type things. It's true administrative type day. And so I tend to not do any prospecting on Fridays. So I think, planning out your week, whatever you do, is really important for sales, because I think there's two reasons why salespeople fail. One is time management, and the
Mhm.
other is product knowledge. So if you're an entrepreneur, obviously you know your product and you
Know
love
your
your
product.
product.
Yes.
But time management is really, really, really important in
Okay.
sales. Yeah. And try experiment with some things.
So just to revisit what you said, 60 to 90 minutes a week or a day going through LinkedIn to comment and participate. Was it daily or weekly?
That's what, just start with, I do it much more. But if you're not normally doing it, just one time a week, start with
Okay.
one time a week. So there should be 3 outbound revenue generating activities a week. I like to do those in 60 to 90-minute blocks, and I
Okay.
like to alternate them between emails, phone calls, newsletter sending, and LinkedIn engagement. That's me. Other people, like when I first started my HPM business, I would make 20 outbound phone calls a day for 5
Mm,
days in a row, and I would
mhm.
never leave messages. But now that business has grown, and obviously no one's in their offices anymore. So I've
Yeah.
changed how I do my outbound right now.
Okay. And so you mentioned the emails because that's probably it's more effective way of catching people. But a lot of times people get so many emails a day. How do you make those stand out so you catch their attention?
Subject line, subject line, subject line. You got it. I mean,
Yep.
like, everybody do this right now. Like, take a look at your phone. Just scroll through your emails. Look at the subject lines that jump out at you and look at the emails you're going to open. 90% of those you're not going to open, but there's going to be 10% that you're like, "Oh, that's compelling. That's interesting. I'm going to open." So, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just copy something somebody's doing, put your own voice on it, and do
Okay.
it. And then that you got to get people's attention right away. So, in Erin King's book in Digital Persuasion,
Yes.
she
Yes.
talks about the first part of your email. Like, what does the first part of your email look like, and how are you getting people's attention? So, number one, read Persuasion, read Erin's book, but
Read book.
it's a great book, but you have to remember people are looking at their emails on their phones. So if you can't see the first part of your email on one phone screen, you've got to retweak what that looks like. Um and I don't know about you, Amani, but I've taken how are you completely off the table. I swapped out how are you for what made you laugh this weekend. So anybody I interacted with today, if I sent them the email, I said, "Hey, what made you laugh this weekend?" Because that builds deeper relationships.
I like it. Great tips here. Okay, so you got the
Yeah.
email, subject line, and then, one of our favorite sayings is the fortune is in the follow-up. What are some creative
Mm,
ways that you have learned or you teach your students in terms of following up so that you get a response?
this is one of my favorite things to coach sales teams on.
Coach us. Coach
I because
us.
I get as a buyer, I get so many lame follow-up emails all the time, and if it's lame and I don't have time, I delete it. I hate to say it, but, like, you only have a couple seconds to capture somebody's attention, so you have to have fun with follow-up. Again, utilize that subject line. I have one really fun one that I say, "It's not you, it's me, dot, dot, dot," and then the first line of the email, "Did we break up before we started dating?" Eh, right? Because it's like,
That's
that
funny.
just gets somebody, like, you've worked so hard to send a proposal, and then it's just they ghost you. So, that's a fun one. I love sending a choose your own adventure email, which basically makes an assumption that the client's on an adventure. You give them a multiple choice, A through D. You have to know something about them through their LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, whatever that is, and let them know you support them in all your endeavors and let them know what adventure you're on. The conversion ratio on somebody getting back to you after they've ghosted you on that is so high. And even if they get back to you to say they're not using you, at least they're getting back to you and they think you're clever. People want to work with people that are clever. So, I think those are a couple good ways. And then video. After a discovery call, I always text a video to the customer of great talking to you, one personal thing about what I talked to you about, and your proposal will be on the way. Because I like it when I can see the people I'm interacting with.
Yes.
And a video could be 30 seconds or less. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have red lipstick on. Just make it fun. So yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the video,
Yeah.
like just for specifics, if you don't have their phone number, you can still email the video over to them. Just do a quick video and send it via email also, correct?
Totally. And there's great if you look at your CRM right now, what most people don't know is there are ways to use video in your follow-up process in your CRM. A lot of people don't know that you're already paying for it, you're just not using it. Or there's companies like Loomly that actually, I'm sorry, not Loomly, Loom, that
Yeah.
actually allow for video follow-up. There's just a lot of different ways to use video in your interactions right now.
Yeah, yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. You can also send video messages within LinkedIn. You can,
Mhm.
especially when you use the mobile app, you can send voice notes too. People like to hear your voice, like to see your face. So that's a great tip on the video. Now, what about, building on top of this? Once you've started to get into a solicitation routine, what are some other, in the last 2 minutes we have for our mini, what are some other under the radar tips where people can be even more effective with their solicitation and their sales?
I mean, I just think if you're just reaching out to a customer because you need something, you are creating a transactional relationship. If you are reaching out to a customer with some sort of plan, let's just say you technically reach out twice a year for them to buy something from you. Make the plan to reach out to them 5 times a year. And those 3 times you're reaching out are truly, "Hey, how's Little League going?"
Mm,
Do not ask for something every single time you're interacting with a customer because you gotta be in it for the long haul and you truly, truly wanna build relationships. You don't wanna propose on the first date. If you went on a date and somebody was like, "I like you, sign the dotted line." Nobody's gonna say those do work sometimes, but not all the time, right?
no,
So,
yes.
just if somebody's technically gonna buy from you twice a year, make sure you're interacting with them at least 2.5 times and make sure it is unconditional love. You gotta give some unconditional love and truly want to get to know them. That's gonna build a deeper relationship.
Agreed. Final question or topic for our mini. What about, oh, I forgot it. What was I just going to ask? It
I
was
don't
the
know.
follow up. You said the mini. It just slipped my mind. I
Pressure,
was going to ask you the
pressure,
pressure.
pressure.
Oh my goodness. It just slipped my mind. That's the craziest
Well,
thing.
I have a quick question for you before we sign off on our mini. Is,
Yes.
you're a former director of sales and marketing. What do you think about training, sales training, attending training, or like what went into the decision making of buying somebody like me to come in and train your team?
I think when you see your team hit a plateau or they're not being as creative as they could be, you want to get some outside perspective. And oh, my question was, which is a good segue,
Mhm.
where do you go and how are you learning in this day, whether it's be 2023, 2024, about new ways to sell and new ways to prospect? Where do you go to learn?
I am so lucky because I coach so many groups of people. I'm learning in the field. So I'm learning through my coaching customers of what they're doing. A lot of times they're telling me what they're doing. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to steal that. That's great.
Right,
Or
right.
I learn as a buyer. I'm interacting with salespeople all the time. So I am painfully aware of the bad salespeople out there
Yeah.
and luckily aware of the great salespeople. So I'm in the field and I'm learning all the time. And when I'm doing trainings, I'm learning from my customers and I read a lot. There's some great, if you go to Instagram, you type in hashtag sales training or sales enablement, there are
Oh,
some really great videos and reels of people talking about cool things. And then I go to a clubhouse room every Friday with a whole
yes.
bunch of digital hospitality people at 10 a.m., which I think is going to probably move over to LinkedIn audio. And so I just try and absorb what I can and I stay curious and constantly ask for help.
I love that. Great
Yeah.
tips.
Yeah.
Like the hashtags. Have to look at that. That's our first mini. We're good. We'll see you for our next episode or our next mini. And thank everyone for tuning in. Send in your questions. We can answer them also during our mini. And have a good rest of the day, everyone.
Have a
Bye.
good rest of the day. Bye.